All right, so we're going to go to, so you can see the program itself and the details, ailife.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with this. Agency Resource Center. Where the heck are you? What is going on here?
Oh, I think it's next to the search bar at the very, very top.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Username, you can use your Impact login, or you can use the universal AIL Prove It 2020 exclamation point. And then you'll go to actuarial,
Okay.
right? That's where all the rates and products are. Click here. And then you're both in Maine, right?
Yep.
So you're going to go down here because the rate book is only the life products,
Right.
right? You're going to go down here and you're going to click on ME.
Okay.
All right. And then so under here, as you ladies can see, this gives you everything you have at your disposal to provide for a client in the state of Maine with the licenses you have.
Yep.
Okay. You know, so you guys have the critical illness and the cancer, which we don't have in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We didn't have it in New Jersey and New York. And man, I can't imagine. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I probably could imagine how much more business we would write if we had those. Then there's nobody you can't cover. It's amazing. But I won't get into those right now. Let's stick to the A71,000. So you have your rates, your outlines. This is for if you needed to print out a paper app, which you really don't have a need for right now. Okay. And then for Medicare eligible applicants. But let's go to rates. Okay. And so click on the, oh, that's not the last one. Sorry. Is it the last one? Yes, it is. Sorry. So you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels.
Okay.
Okay. The first one, the AG 1648, that's going to give you the minimal amount you'll get for a visit or for a stay. Okay. I want to go to the max. And again, in your e-app, when you get to the final offer screen and you click on additional benefits, which I'll show you in a second, it'll give you the option in the drop-down arrow of which level to choose.
Okay.
Right. So this one here, as you'll see, is the policy, the triple A71,000 with a $300 daily hospital confinement. The emergency room visit will always be half of that.
Okay.
Now there is a bigger one.
Yeah, I was gonna say 500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bigger one's in the e-app, which we'll
Okay.
look at that in a minute. But just so you can understand this here, so the monthly, right, 18 to 49 for an individual is $6.63.
Yep.
So if you're ever sitting with somebody, especially who's, you know, again, like 18 to 30, like, and they don't really have much going on just yet, no assets, no kids, no house, and they're they don't give a shit about very much, right? The freedom of choice, cool, but they don't really care about who's paying for their funeral right now. Like, it's the least care in the world to a 22-year-old, right?
Yep.
So the two things I need to be prepared and competent to get them excited about, right? Because people don't buy price. They don't buy rate. They don't buy product. They buy value and what the product can do for them and their family. And then from there, if the value's high enough and what they're going to get in return from the product and what it'll do for them is high enough, people will pay anything for everything, right? Look what people pay for the iPhone or for their favorite pair of sneakers or for Starbucks. Like, people will pay for the things they deem worth their money, right? It can't be about a rate war. We'll lose that battle every time. So when I'm with somebody who's, you know, younger and independent with not a whole lot of assets happening and dependence happening, I need to get them really excited about their retirement money, right? And the cash
Mhm.
value aspect and the guaranteed number. This isn't a projected rate of return, you know, based upon how this performs or the market performs or, you know, what the bank rate is right now, right? The cash value on their life insurance policy that comes in on the policy, that's exactly the number they're going to have,
Mhm.
not an estimate. That's what it is. And that's really cool. The other aspect is the A71,000, right? Because a young person with no dependents, no assets, the most important thing to them typically is the money that they're making for their lifestyle.
Mhm.
You know, the things they like to do, their hobbies, their toys, you know, their dinners, their whatever they like to do. And so, you know, if that's the case, I want to be able to when I get into my proposals, right? I'm going to add in, if the computer didn't add in the A71, I'm going to add it in personally, right?
Mhm.
And I'll do my proposals. It won't be in the proposal because I can't add it in until the final offer screen.
Yep.
And I'm going to add it in and do another proposal for that,
Yep.
right? And I'll say, so Jen, you know, obviously right now, I'd imagine your income is a pretty important thing for you to be able to, you know, live where you're living and enjoy the hobbies and interests and lifestyle that you want to live. Correct? Would I be right in saying that?
Yep.
Right. And obviously right now, let me ask you if you were injured at all at work or out of work, right? Um, I'm assuming that would affect your current daily income, right?
Yep.
Now, if you got injured at work, you can still file for disability, but does that come right away?
Nope.
No. If it happens off of work, you're up the creek without a paddle either way.
Right.
Right? So what we're also proposing is our hospital plan. I'm going to play a short video that's going to explain that. And then you can play the video right from the screen. I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll explain what, so Jen, anytime you need to use the emergency room or an urgent care center in the strip mall in Biddeford, whatever it might be, okay, you're playing basketball and you tweak your ankle. This actually just happened to me. I was in the ER last Tuesday morning. My foot was on fire and I literally had to crawl to the bathroom. And I inflamed and injured my Achilles tendon playing basketball. So just for that visit, right, which cost 3-4 hours of my time, sleep, I wasn't able to get to work and be as effective at work when I can. So, you know, that affected my income, but I automatically got $200 from the company for that,
Mm.
which kind of made it a little bit easier to swallow, right?
Right.
If you get in any type of accident and you're hospitalized, where they now admit you into the hospital, okay, which whether we're driving on, 95 and a moose comes out, right? You guys know Deb Small?
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
heard a lot about her. Haven't met her.
She's amazing. In a 5-year time period, she's been able to accrue enough renewals. You know, she works, I don't know, a
Right.
couple days a month, and is living an amazing life. Semi-retired after 5 years here, just off her renewals. But either which way, I use her story a lot. Her husband, 2 years ago, Jeff, Harley, he's a Harley guy.
Mm.
And he was on his Harley Davidson near Falmouth, and Harley had a recall. There were the tiny oil leaks in the oil lines of Harleys, and he experienced one and was taking a corner and got in an accident and on his bike. And I know there's a lot of motorcyclists.
Right.
He was in ICU for 3 days. So that was $600 a day for ICU. So you got $1,800 from that. And then from there, they don't just send you home. You go to a step down unit before they just send you home.
Right.
So he was there for another day. So that was another $300. So he got $2,100 between the 4 days. and that money comes within 3 to 5 days of the claim.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, so it's a phenomenal value to add to your package. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And can you see the need for those monies coming in to make sure you're not scrambling for, you know, money for groceries and stuff if this were to happen to you?
Mhm.
Awesome. So with that being said, being that everything makes sense and you saw the need for it, you know, the only question left would be is right now I'm just closing.
Mm-hmm.
But that program, maybe it was just like a $30,000 freedom of choice for, you know, $42, right?
Yep.
They weren't like completely sold on just that. They don't have dependents, so there's no income protection needed.
Mhm.
So the only thing coming up is freedom of choice. So now that A71, they don't know it, but it's $7. So
Yeah.
now for $49, it's this whole new ball game of benefits that they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the additional death benefits, where if they die due to an accident, we're going to pay out
Right.
$30,000. If it's a motor vehicle accident of any sort, okay, 60,000, double indemnity, 30 times 2. And if it's a fare paying accident, Uber, Lyft, train, plane, taxi, automobile, bus, anything that's paid admission to ride, it's 5 times indemnity. So it'll be 30 times 5, 150,000 that'll pay out to the family, because there's absolutely going to be legal issues involved and
Mhm.
attorney for that. So that'll pay out $150,000 to make sure your family's equipped to handle, you know, what's going to happen in that scenario.
Does that also pay out in 3 to 5 days?
No,
Of the claims?
that's standard underwriting time.
Okay.
Accidental deaths obviously are going to take a little bit longer to underwrite,
Okay.
because they have the, you know, police have to figure out who was at fault and this, that, and the other thing.
Okay.
But that's where you go to look at the rates, and then the outlines, you know, for each thing. So again, you can go here to the triple, and it kind of gets technical and into the legal jargon, but you can see here it outlines exactly what I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on where to go look and read that?
Nope.
So let's go into the e-app itself and talk about, again, implementing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you 2 different ways you can do this. Okay. You could do it through e-app, through what you're doing right now. So we've done our needs. I just did the needs analysis with the new trainees. So this was good timing. So let's say we've done our needs analysis, right?
Yep.
And so we have this family here. Let me just fill this out. 0. And let's say they had $100,000 each. They had $100,000 each of life insurance, whole life insurance, doesn't matter. It's going to go in term either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, just because it's you two and we're here, I don't know what your preferences are, but let's say you two are a married couple, right? And you have a kid together. So we'll pretend that I think the couple was Morgan, Dominic, and Lily. Okay. So we can pretend you're Dominica instead of Dominic. Okay. Right. And so we went through this and we're like, you know, Morgan, Dominica, do you guys own or rent? And so just to give you guys a refresh on this, let's say they own.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let's say they rent. I apologize.
Okay.
Let's say they rent, and you tell me, oh, we actually rent right now. We are saving up to buy, but you know, our situation, rent just makes a little more sense right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still clicking own?
Yeah, because they have a dependent.
Good.
Yeah.
So still click that own. And then what are we going to ask?
How much is your rent?
What's your monthly rent? Let's say they said $1,500. Okay. All right. So $1,500 a month. So That's 18 grand a year. And so let's say over 5 years. All right, so that would be 90,000, right? And I'm not sharing the screen with them, so I'm not confusing them.
Mhm.
Interest rate, and that was a 5-year calculation, right? Which will lead me to question 5. Dominica, let me ask you. I'll just use your real names. It's not confused, so you don't have to decide who's.
Right.
Again, let me ask. Do you have, and if you're not asking this question exactly as I'm asking it, please revisit your scripts.
Yep.
Okay. We're not asking this question.
Mhm.
Okay. Just piggybacking off Sabrina, right? No, we're in New England. Our questions need to be a little more specific, a little more detailed. We need to be a little bit more skilled, right? So make sure you're revisiting your script if you're not asking it exactly as is. Jen, do you have a separate life insurance policy that would allow Corey to continue to pay the monthly rent on her own should you die, or is that something she would need to handle on her own?
I don't have a separate policy.
You don't. Okay, so you just have that 100,000 that you said would be needed for lifestyle expenses and all that stuff. Okay.
Right.
Corey, let me ask, would that become a problem for you to pay the rent on your own?
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm sure you ladies are, because you're getting decent results, but if you're not, if that exchange doesn't sound like 90% close to what I just went over,
Yeah.
revisit that, because that's really the most powerful and largest expense people need to cover.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'll ask, well, Corey, let me ask you, and Jen, I know you're healthy, but, had Jen died and you were left to pay the rent on your own right now, out of the existing 100,000 you both have, how many months of rent would you want to make sure you can absolutely pay before you had to figure out how to do it on your own? Like, how much adjustment time would you want to make sure at minimum that you had?
I would say at least a year, or maybe even 2.
Okay.
That's a lot to deal with.
Again, I like to be conservative with these things because you can always change them.
Yeah.
Let's call it a year.
Okay.
Right. So 1,500, we said times a year, so that's 18,000. All right. So let's do this. We're going to say 18,000 would be covered for 1 year for you. So if we were to use that out of your existing $100,000, Jen, so I should know this off the top of my head, but just to be safe. So what that would do is you'd have $18,000 specifically to make sure the rent's paid for at least a full year. And then you'd have $82,000 left for your other expenses, the groceries, the recreation, the schooling, everything else, the debt that we talked about. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you did have about 6 years worth of income to rely on. That's going to take you down to about 4 years. All right.
Okay.
So you'll have 4 years of income replacement from your existing coverage. You'll have 1 year of your rent taken care of before you'd have to start figuring out, how to make adjustments or where those adjustments are going to come from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And do either of you have anything set aside for final expenses?
No.
All right. So we haven't even factored that in. Okay. And then the last question, do you guys bank locally with your credit union for checking and savings, or do you use a commercial bank?
Credit union.
Use your credit. Awesome. Thank you for that. In addition to all the labor unions and associations, we're heavy supporters of our local credit union. So that's cool to hear. We'll make sure to send that back in the survey that we do. Awesome. So that's the tail end of my needs analysis, right?
Mm.
Yep.
So any questions on that? That was a total little side session.
When you do a single person for the housing, how do you how do you approach that? Because obviously if they're living alone, like, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
They rent.
I'm the only thing I'm really going to ask is, let's say I'm with you, Corey, right?
Yeah.
I'll ask, Corey, let me ask you. So you're currently renting, right?
Yeah.
If, if you were to die, um, would anybody need to take over occupancy here, or would it just be relieved?
No, it would just be relieved.
Okay, so nobody has a need to continue paying the monthly rent here?
No.
All right, they would just need to take care of any outstanding, month or whatever due.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that scenario, I'm going to click rent and move on
Okay.
because there's no, right? There is no,
Yeah, there's no safety net needed,
yeah. And
essentially.
that's important, right? We're not there, this is what
Hmm.
we tell them, we don't want to give you anything that you don't need.
Right.
And so, I'm not looking to try to find a gap that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because if I do, and I don't fill this out properly, the proposal, right? Remember, the whole point of the needs analysis is so that when I go to the proposals, I already know their answers.
Right.
Because I did an amazing needs analysis, followed by an amazing freedom of choice, right?
Yeah.
When I get to, okay, let's just submit this so you can see the tie-in here. I apologize. My son has been playing all types of video games on this thing, and it's slowing me down. Okay. Now this here, let me share my screen again. So Dominica and Morgan, this is what's called your mandatory read-off letter. What this is simply stating is all the programs we're going to go over on a voluntary basis. Just meaning if you see the need for it and you want to protect your family with it, like most of the members do, we'll get you enrolled today. And if not, what we're going to do is have you fill out what you see here. Okay, can you guys see my screen, my video?
A little bit.
All right.
Yes, I can see it, but
So I would be holding up a union officer report card. If you haven't been doing this, make sure you're doing this.
okay.
If not, then what we're going to do, ladies, is fill out this union officer report card. All right, I have a digital version that I'll pull up and share with you and have you send that in. Either way, we do need you to make a decision today. It's impossible for us to connect on a Zoom call a second time with every single member that we're servicing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not it's not for any other reason than that. So either way, we would need a decision today. Now, let me go over this with you. Now, I would have this digitally and pull up their actual officer report, actual mandatory read-off letter. And so,
Yeah.
are you both doing that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'll pull up their actual read-off letter, and ladies, just so you see here, this is basically reiterating what we just covered, but this is the original letter direct from your local and your president, Robert Downey Jr. And we just want to point out, he's saying the same things. He believes it's going to be the most valuable program you'll ever see for these needs. And if you qualify, they're just asking, that you go ahead and take advantage before it's too late. Fair enough?
Yes.
So now I've gotten that double confirmation, so I can revisit that. If I get to think about it, I can, make that my initial revisit. As unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, we do ask for decisions just due to efficiency and time purposes. And that's for you guys. Again, you have to have your own. You have to have your own, like, core beliefs and values that you run your agency by, your Jen Long agency and Corey, right, agency by, that you want to stick to.
Yeah.
When I said that to somebody, like, I stuck to that.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody said, like, so you're saying next week if I decide that I'd like to do this and I reach out, you're not going to help me? And I would let them know, well, it's a great question, and I'm glad you're asking it. I personally won't be able to. I have a large number of members that I'm assigned to, beyond the referrals that people are asking me to also service. in addition, not that you care about my life, but in addition to a 7-year-old, 3-year-old, 3 dogs, and a crazy household, I personally, I'm not able to just keep circling the wagons. And
Mm,
I'll stick to that gun.
yeah.
Again, I don't chase money. I don't chase business.
Yeah.
Okay. And in my 15 years of doing this, I don't even know if I can count on one hand how many people I actually had to, like, who actually called. And I was like, all right, let me put you in touch with somebody else.
Right.
But the few people who did, it's exactly what happened. All right, here's what I'll do. I'll get you in touch with so-and-so. Their schedule's not as busy,
Okay.
and that's operating from strength,
Yeah.
right? Don't chase money. Don't operate from weakness. Iron sharpens iron. But so now we're into the proposals. And again, I don't want to make this another proposal class, but what we're going to do is examine your need for final expense protection, because as of right now, you don't have that covered, Morgan and Dom. So I'll let the video explain that, right? We're going to go through that. We'll hit up our freedom of choice.
Yeah.
There's 842 companies in America that can issue protection or annuities of this type. And for nearly 70 years, over 32,000 organizations, unions, associations, and credit unions contract specifically with our company out of any of the 841, specifically because of our freedom of choice. It's what we do better than any other company. The worst day of your life, Jen, okay, hopefully it's a long time from now, 30, 40 years from now, but when Corey does die, and the first thing you need to do is start to piece together the final arrangements and all that stuff, you'll never have to worry about, is this other insurance active still? Is this covered? Was it still you don't have to worry about calling an 800 number and being dispatched to a foreign company and operator. All you'll need to do is bring in this freedom of choice certificate. On the back, assign exactly how much of your policy you want to be designated to that funeral director. Bring it in, explain to them that here's how much I want to make available to you guys for the funeral. Have them sign it, have a witness sign it, and then, all right, they're going to call us, not you. You can go home and, be with your family, start to grieve, start getting the pictures together, whatever it might be. But as far as those upfront final expenses and the chaos and, burden it causes, you'll never deal with that. That's what we're going to do. And we're the best. We're the best in the market at making sure that that's handled. So as you see here, as far as final expenses, it recommends for all of our members nothing less than $30,000 of permanent protection with that freedom of choice. Do you remember why? Right? Blah, blah, blah. So that's exactly what we're going to cover you for. So again, Corey, whenever you do die, exactly what we said, Jen, all you'll need to do is handle things, get the certificate, and then go deal with the emotional side. We're gonna jump on and handle the financial side that day up front. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And can you see a need, for the certificate and those expenses to handle that moment?
Yeah. Now, my question is, if they don't have that certificate, essentially,
Yep.
like, how long would it take them to get the funds for the funeral?
So if you have life insurance, right?
Yeah.
As you know, I worked for New York Life, as I said, for 2 years. Every life insurance company can designate funds to a funeral home.
Okay.
Okay. Not every company has a proprietary certificate that acts as a binding contract to allow that to happen. That's all the freedom of choice is.
Yeah.
It's a union sealed proprietary certificate that allows us to designate that and only that. So the funeral director will never know how much your policy's for in general. Right. And so, there's other companies where they can, help along with that as well. But traditionally, you'll have to bring the policy in, you know, and if you have $100,000 policy, that's meant, by the way, for other expenses, the
Right.
income, the debt, the schooling, the year of rent, right? Do you ever want to bring $100,000 policy needed for several things to a funeral director?
No.
No. Okay. And so again, any company can do a designation of funds, but typically you have to bring the policy in, which nobody really wants to do that if they don't have to.
Okay.
The other part is you typically need to do the legwork.
Hmm.
You need to get on the phone.
Yeah.
You need to make, all the claims and all, wait on the 800 line, and you can't even, maybe you have a power of attorney or something like that. But again, if you've dealt with death, waiting on an 800 line, trying to handle all this stuff is the last thing you want to be doing.
I'm consuming an inconvenient.
Yeah, we don't even want to do it when we have
Right.
a discrepancy on our cable bill.
Yeah.
Never mind the worst day of our life emotionally.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be the biggest differentiating point.
Yeah.
There's no compromising of your coverage. There's no disclosing how much coverage you have. Not saying that all funeral directors would upcharge you, and that's not even the real issue. Most funeral directors are really great people. Okay, like anything else, there's bad apples of the bunch, right? The real issue with this is it could be the greatest person on planet Earth. When you bring in your $100,000 policy and they're verifying it, do they know that they're guaranteed going to get any of that money? So they know you have the policy. They know it's active.
Right.
Do they know they're going to see any of that money?
Right. Because just because I have the paperwork doesn't mean it's a valid policy.
Well, no, let's say they validate it, right?
Okay.
So they know you have a $100,000 policy,
Yeah.
right? They know it's active. They know it's valid. They know the money's there. Do they know they're going to get any of it?
No, because I'm
No.
just showing them paper.
What if you have a federal tax lien?
Hmm.
And the first thing that's happening is there's a federal tax lien on your life insurance policy, right?
Hmm.
What if your home's in arrear and they're primary lien holder on that policy,
Right.
right? So even though you have it, it still doesn't mean that they're going to get any of it. And they know that. So legally, because of what's happened in the past, funeral directors are allowed to put themselves as legal lien holder on the policy
Hmm.
to guarantee that they get their money. Because they're business owners, they're
Yeah.
they're just regular family members and business owners and mothers and fathers too, right? And so once they do their job, they can't spend time in court fighting, people paying them what they're right. So they do their due diligence, making sure like they're going to get their money. So they're allowed to put themselves as lien holder. Now, all right, so they're going to get their money, but now you have your mortgage company, your telephone company, your cable company, your cell phone company, your auto company, all calling you, hey, right? You're getting whacked with late fee. Can you imagine going through that as you're trying to deal with the fact that your husband of 30 years is no longer with you?
No.
No.
And so again, you don't have to paint this picture for everybody, but if need be, that's
Right.
that's where I'm going with it.
That's a good picture to paint.
And so again, we don't just say this to impress people, or to make ourselves look good, but to really help you understand, again, there's 842 companies that can do this for people, and over 32,000 unions, associations, credit unions for 70 years now. We're the company that they put their name on, saying, yes, here's the program we believe you should do for this.
Hmm.
And we take that very seriously, and we honor that, knowing that there's a lot of competition. They can choose to be doing it, but because of our track record and because of the ease, and how simple, and the burden we take away from families on that day has been, we've continued to earn the privilege to that business and these contracts for 70 years.
Hmm.
you know. And here's the kicker is, as far as we know, is that need ever going to go away?
No.
No. No, we don't even know if we're going to have Social Security in a few years. I don't foresee the country saying, yeah, everybody's funeral is going to be paid for when you die.
I just met with a kid this morning who said his family has a cemetery, and his grandfather actually built his own like casket and his wife's casket for them to be buried in their family cemetery. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's I love how proactive that is, and that's somebody
Right.
who obviously who's obviously loving enough to think about their family and try to help in that situation. Some things I might ask them. Um, you know, Casket companies have to be approved with all types of license and certifications, and those caskets need to be approved with all types of license and certifications and pass all kinds of inspections to be approved that it's appropriate to put in the ground for environmental purposes. There's environmental, that's the biggest thing with the funeral industry, and why we have jobs. There's environmental laws as to what needs to happen when somebody dies.
Yeah.
I know, we have people way up in northern Maine where it's pretty sparse between you and your neighbor, and it's ideal to bury them in your yard, and it's you can certainly do it, but the second a builder comes along and decides to put something on that property or this, that, or the other thing, and there's bones in there, there's going to be some legal issues.
Right.
So it's fun to talk about, but it's certainly not a very intelligent and responsible thing to do. So there's all kinds of legalities against those things, which is both unfortunate and creates necessary evils, and one of them is life insurance and final expense insurance. The great news is it's tax free, and it's going to guarantee some peace of mind in some way, shape, or form. It's never a losing investment. It's always a winning investment in some way, shape, or form. And then the other thing is, I've met a lot of people who've, purchased plots or this, that, or the other thing. It's a very common thing, especially among certain cultures and stuff. My very good friend in New Jersey's, Italian American, huge, Italian family. And so they all have plots already purchased and stuff to make sure they're all together in the afterlife. And, when you look at, which I'm assuming you probably haven't, because there's no need for you to, it's not an exciting thing to do. I can play that video for you again, Corey. When you look at the itemized list of costs, most people associate final expense costs with funeral.
Yeah.
Right? That's a portion of it. Final expense costs start from the time you go to the hospital, whether you're alive or dead. Final expense costs start with the medicine that's being, issued to you as you're dying, the care, the hospital care, the nursing care, the hospice care, whatever it is. That's the starting point of final expenses. Ambulance ride, whatever it might be, right? Transportation from the hospital, from hospice, from your house, wherever it was that you did pass, to the morgue, right? Everything that happens at the morgue. Like final expense costs are way more than just plot. Plot is one of the least expensive parts, a couple $100, which is why you see a lot of people handling that ahead of time. But it leaves them very, misinformed and jaded about everything else that's going to take place. You can have a plot. They don't keep it open. They don't just keep the hole open until you're dead, because you're expected to live 40 more years, 50 more years. We dealt with this with Laura's father. He died December 11th, 2015, on a Friday, and the 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 backhoe, the guy who digs the holes in the cemeteries, it's
Mhm.
not available over the weekend. So it was, we had to wait till Monday for that to even happen. So there was added cost to body storage over those days, right? Again, stuff you would never even think of unless you dealt with it. From there, it was December 11th. The ground was pretty hard. It's winter,
Mm.
which means the cost of digging the hole was more because it required more time to dig because of how hard the ground was. The softer the ground, the less time to dig, less cost. Again, stuff that's just totally like you're not
Mm.
thinking of, and nor should you think of. It's wicked morbid. That's where, again, what you do is you be a responsible consumer, responsible family member. You make sure you have the expenses to cover it and not think about that stuff.
Yeah.
uh,
Seriously.
from there, the casket's one thing. And so, again, I'm glad you're bringing it up. And again, this is so detailed just from experience. But the other thing that you then need that I didn't know of, and I had been selling insurance, was 2015. So I've been doing this 15 years, 5 years. So this is, 10, 11 years in. Besides the casket, you have to buy a vault. You know what a vault?
Really?
A vault goes around the dirt so that the walls don't collapse over into the casket. So you have to purchase a vault for the casket to be lowered into.
Mm.
Again, wacky stuff. And so, yeah, I'm glad to hear you have some things, and he's gotten some things that he's been caring enough to put in place. But no one can ever be prepared fully on their own without insurance for the costs that are going to be incurred.
Right.
Because if you live long enough, you see every year that goes by, everything gets more what? Expensive, right? And so that's where what we really do, as you heard this morning, is we're selling money that there's going to be an absolute need for, no questions asked.
Right.
Typically in about 40 years from now.
Right.
You're buying, 2060 money at 2020 rates
Mm-hmm.
for this expense that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? Can you see where there's probably need for more coverage than just the plot and casket that's been handled?
Yep.
And that's where I would have went back with that.
Okay.
But I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm.
So we'll continue on. So I've got a yes and a yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I can't move past that screen unless I've gotten 2 yeses. Does this make sense? All right. And can you see the need for that certificate and these expenses and this protection being there for that moment and for that day? And I'm not moving on unless I get 2 yeses.
Yeah.
There's no point in it.
Right.
If I'm not getting 2 yeses, they're definitely not going to say yes to the money. If it doesn't make sense or there's no need, why would they say yes to the money? So I can't move on.
Mm-hmm.
I have to dig my heels in. All right, well, let's do this. If they're saying no, let's do this. I'm just going to go back. I'm feeling that I missed something in my needs analysis that maybe we didn't identify properly. Let me just go back and make sure I didn't miss anything, right? And I'm going to reassess that. Try to ask some more questions, open some more gaping holes that I missed because I'm not that great at my needs analysis just yet.
Yeah.
Right. But as long as I've gotten yeses, again, we're just buttoning stuff up, getting those agreements to the income. But let's get back to what we were talking about, which is the A71. Right. So now I've gotten all this, right?
Yep.
So if you can go through your prezo the way you've been doing it, okay, and hit next benefit, right? Continue. And then what I can do is, and again, I'll unshare my screen
Yeah.
Don't let them see this until you have the complete package of what you want them seeing, right?
Okay.
I'll go here and I'll click, where is it? A71,000 or H34. Especially if they're single with no dependents, I would put both in, the
Yeah.
A71 and the H34. And then, all right, so we'll put it in for the whole family. We'll add, and so it's gonna put it in. So let's put it at the bottom down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can choose the level of coverage. So the coverage that you see listed, that's the daily hospital amount.
Yep.
The emergency room benefit will always be half of that.
Okay.
So if I choose the 500, that means if they're admitted, it's 500 a day. And then any ER visits is 250,
Yep.
400, 200, right? So on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I do the 300, right? Because they're already at, again, whatever you want. But put that in there, the recuperation benefit, I'll keep that at 400.
What does that mean, recuperation benefit?
That's a great question. The recuperation benefit, if let's say you're in the hospital for 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
so you'll get your 300, so you'll get $900 for that stay.
Mhm.
You can then collect $400 a month for the next 3 months. So nothing crazy, but it's really meant to offset, maybe grocery expenses, your insurance, car insurance, whatever it might be, just a couple other bills you'll have for the next 3 months, but you'll get $400 a month for every day you were in the hospital.
No shit.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So if you were in, again, like Deb's husband was in for 4 days,
Right.
so he'd be able to get, in addition to whatever he got for the stay, he's also going to get a check sent to him for $400 the next 4 months,
Wow.
Wow.
and put it towards whatever he wants,
Wow.
right? So I've proposed the final expense. I've proposed everything else. I haven't proposed this yet because it wasn't in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to add this in, and I'm going to say, and then the last thing we want to examine. So I have to kind of memorize that, right?
Mm.
The last thing we're going to examine, Jen and Corey, is this accident hospital policy. Just knowing your income is very important to the household, not just in death, but especially while you're here. And if for any reason, either of you were injured in any way, shape, or form, and you couldn't go to work, if it happened on the job, you can still apply for disability, but we know that is not guaranteed and takes a while to get, even if you do get approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your income's so important to the household, we really recommend, including this as well. Let me just play a video that explains how that's going to work.
An accident can happen to anyone.
And so you can play the video if you want, or if you're well versed enough for time purposes, you can just explain it,
Yeah.
because it has it all right here in this little chart.
Yeah.
So you could probably just you two seem fairly intelligent.
Well, now I'm not going to skip over the recoup benefit.
I know that's great.
Right. So now I'm going to recap.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So so in recapping everything, Jen and Corey, so you're both going to have, that freedom of choice and those final expenses covered. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I might, just keep track of this as I'm going along. But 30 plus 30. You're going to have the income protection, right? So a full 5 years that you would receive, Corey, and then a full 5 years that, you would also receive on the flip side, Jen.
Mm.
You're going to have, again, 18,000 of, 1 year of the rent is covered through your existing coverage. We're going to also add that extra rent. I know it's coming up mortgage, but it would be applied towards your rental expense. So that's another level of protection. You then have the child rider for Lily, and then you have those hospital benefits. So all in all, you're looking at, well over $250,000 of protection, instant net worth, so long as you qualify, as we said. But being that everything makes sense, which, it certainly looks like it does, and I know you said it does, and you also said there was a need for everything. The only question left would be, is this comfortable for you to protect your family, for all those needs and those items?
Yeah. I like the way you added up the benefits, because
Yeah.
we're in it to sell money. Like, we're going to point out the money aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I learned that, especially when there's guys around, for whatever reason, guys are so stupid. Like, when guys shop for life insurance, they literally, that's a piece of it. They want to be able to say, "Oh, I have this much."
Mm,
If it's brought up, like they get wicked prideful.
mm-hmm.
They'll usually just go, "Oh, yeah, I have $1 million policy." Totally lying. They have nothing. So that's again, I know that I went through more than we probably could have and needed to, but I wanted you to kind of see the whole spectrum of it.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah.
The other approach you can take, okay, is rather than using this screen, okay, if you're confident enough and capable enough and competent enough, and I really would only show this to people that I do think have like the competence and quickness to do this. And I can send you, oh man, did I shut them down like an idiot? Oh, you know what I did? Hold on, let me get right back into it. You can manually do this and show them a job 1, job 2 package. Are you both, kind of versed in job 1, job 2?
I don't even know what you're speaking of.
Okay, well, that's on our release checklist, which is a concern. Oh boy. Hold on.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Ryan. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I appreciate it. That's good feedback. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up here, and I should have it readily available. And where the heck was it? 2 job worksheets. Okay, here we go. I can send you these files. Let me share my screen because I think I stopped. Especially if you want to use the A71 on every deal. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Virtual packet templates. Okay, and here we go. And going back to your question for single, so there's a form for family, there's a form for single. Okay, so you would still do your needs analysis, and I would definitely, still go through the proposals, because again, that's where you're closing them.
Yeah.
And then you can unshare your screen and literally use the final offer screen, but they won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just let them know, okay, let me just put this together for you here real quick, so you can see exactly the full scope of the plan. So they haven't seen rates at all just yet.
Right.
They've only agreed to, does this make sense, and do you see the need? So they've agreed conceptually to the benefits itself and what it'll do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The value and what it's going to do for them, as we said, right? Then you'll unshare your screen. Now they got yes and yes to that, and say, all right, let me just fill this out here. so you can see exactly the full scope of the plan and what it would look like. And let me download this. Okay, and I can send you this. And so you can fill this out right on for them, right? And so we said right now, guys, between the two of you, I think the total monthly after-tax income was 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and how much of that? What do you currently contribute to any existing work benefits each month, or is it completely covered by your company?
I don't pay for my work, like
Okay.
my life insurance.
Yeah, so no
Correct.
deductions from your paycheck for any benefits right now?
No.
Okay, whether it's health, life, anything.
I mean, health insurance, yes.
All right, so after your health insurance deduction, what's your monthly take home between the two of you? It was 7,000 from what you said.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so that's after taxes and all that. Yeah, 7,000.
but let's say 7,000. Okay. All right, let me do some math here. And I apologize, this is okay. And so where the heck did I put it? Here we go. So 670. 6.5. Okay. And right now, you said through your work, your current life insurance coverage was 25,000.
Yes.
And so 25K in term, right?
Mm.
And then you have your health, and you have your 401K, right? And that was everything, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so let me just fill this in. And then the income we said was, let me just fill the lump sum in here. So 158. These numbers aren't going to be exact. I'm just trying to rush through this.
Mm.
2,000. Okay. And which is really rent. We understand that.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, I talk to myself a lot. My wife is constantly not happy with it, so I apologize. Child education, we didn't do that at the moment. I can certainly discuss it with you after the fact, but I'm not going to cover that for right now. And then for here, we have 300. We have, oh no, I'm sorry. We have 150, 300, and 600. And those are there. Terminal illness rider, I believe, is going to be 15,000 and 15,000. Okay.
Okay.
So now I would share my screen,
Mhm.
right? And say, so, Jen, Corey, just to recap everything, right? What we want to show you guys is right now, your current job between the two of you, right? You're taking home $7,000 a month,
Yep.
and that includes your $25,000 of term coverage, which again, once you leave your job, that'll go away, right?
Yep.
And then your health insurance, which will also need to be changed whenever you retire, whatnot. And your 401k, which you can roll over and have options with that as well. What's essentially being recommended, and the reason your company's been working with our company, is we like to give the perspective of, if they said, I know you said you work for Barbara Bush Memorial, right?
Mhm.
So if they said, hey, Corey, we have new job packages, benefit packages available. They're not group packages, so you do have to meet individually with this really nice young man who's going to give you a pleasant experience. And his name's and he's going to show you what, your benefit options are and the packages look like, right? And they said, this other option you have is going to be, instead of making $7,000 a month, you're going to take home $6,785. You're going to keep everything you currently have.
Yeah.
With Barbara Bush, and whenever you do retire, obviously those are going to be, changed and compromised. And then everything else in the blue in the enhanced package is actually going to be yours. You're going to be making a contribution towards it. You're going to own it and control it. Whenever you do leave your job, voluntarily or involuntarily, it's going to stay with you for life, and you're going to have complete ownership to make any adjustments along the way. Nothing will ever increase unless you specifically request it, and same thing, nothing will ever decrease. It's locked in, no matter what happens to your current job situation. Okay, if you do get laid off or go on strike, you don't have to make the contribution at all. This company, American Income, we're contracted with, will actually take over your contribution during any qualified layoff or strike. And if you ever become permanently disabled, they'll take over your contribution for the rest of your life. What's now going to happen is, so your monthly income is going to go to $6,785 after taxes, but you're going to have $30,000 each of that freedom of choice that we discussed and you said you would see the need for.
Yeah.
The income protection we spoke about, again, we'd send Jennifer $158,000 to help replace your income, Corey, and Corey would send you $82,000 if and when you would need to replace Jen's income. So you would both have a full 5 years to adjust to, not having the other there. The last thing anybody wants to do when they lose a loved one is start to, live a lesser lifestyle and be all right. So that'll all be included. Again, I know it says mortgage, but this would be applied to your rent, as we discussed. You have the 1 year covered through your existing coverage, but we'll also offset the balance, and you'd have a full, 5 years, whether you stayed where that's the point of it, to allow you to stay where you are without, we all know how much moving sucks in general. Never mind in the midst of a death. Children's education, we didn't do that. We can certainly look at that if that's something you want to. Your child's coverage is the $10,000 we discussed. And then we also have these accidental hospital benefits. Any ER visit for either one of you or Lily, or an urgent care visit, the doc in a box things and stuff like that. We'll send you $150 for your time and trouble. And that's money that's ACH to you. Okay. Goes to your bank account just to offset the time, money, trouble. You probably have to make a copay, whatever it might be. Any income you missed at work for the hours that you were there. If you're hospitalized, in general, they admit you. We'll send $300 for each day that you're in the hospital. So if you're in for 2, you'll get $600 in 3 to 5 days. So you're not, because if you went into the hospital on Monday, got discharged on Wednesday, you're not going to work Thursday, Friday. Meanwhile, most people are freaking out. I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. And they're making the problem worse, and they're probably back in. And so it's money. So you just, don't have to freak out about rushing back to work. Intensive care, you could see, is double that at $600. And then there's additional death benefits as well. And the terminal illness rider, if any of you were diagnosed, with any type of aggressive cancer, COVID, that's aggressive, whatever it might be, you could take $15,000 out immediately towards, whatever you want to do, travel, bucket list items, or advanced medicine that's not covered by your insurance, whatever you see fit. And again, so all in all, that's over, it's nearly, it's over $250,000 worth of coverage. I know you guys said, if one of you had died last night, I think right now your total net worth you'd leave behind would be about $100,000. Right. So again, as long as you qualify with the enhanced job package, and what you currently have, your net worth would instantly go over $500,000 tonight. You know, as long as again, as long as everything makes sense and you qualify. But when you're looking at, you know, the difference in job packages, if Beth Israel was, or I'm sorry, Barbara Bush was, you know, rehiring you and they said, okay, you have to choose package A or package B, which package do you feel provides, you know, better value and is most comfortable for you?
Hmm. I like B.
Definitely B.
You know, so that difference of after-tax income, that comes out to 215, you know, essentially is what we're looking at. That monthly contribution, that's comfortable for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do this. We're not, it looks like you probably qualify, but, you know, I'd like to just say, yeah, you can have it. We do need to make sure that you do in fact qualify fully. So there's about 30 some odd, you know, legal and health questions I just need to go through. And as long as everything, you know, looks like it's on the up and up and squared away, you'll be covered effectively tonight. And all of these benefits are effective as of tonight conditionally.
Yeah.
All right, let me pop that open and then boom, we're done.
Right. Wow. I like that snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Love it.
this was again kind of traditionally what we used coming
When
up.
you're in the field or
Yeah,
yeah,
you know, we were all manual, so it was all paper.
right.
Um, and it's definitely an effective method.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
when
so cool.
because when people see, you know, when people see this, it is itemized up here,
Yeah.
but the only thing they're looking at is this.
Yeah, exactly.
So they
It's
put
so
everything in a
busy.
box.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
they think very narrow-minded,
Yeah.
and when you can get them thinking more expansive as to everything that's happening and the complete value that they're getting,
Mm-hmm.
the 214 becomes much more palatable and like, oh wow, that's a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
As to this, where they might be saying, holy shit, 214, right? The other one, from the other perspective, you have people, oh wow, $200 for that?
Yeah.
Now it's a deal.
Right.
You know?
And
They're
I
like,
like how you kind of just like paint the two different wages. Like it doesn't even show you like, oh, 215. Like, no, this is what you make now and this is what you would make, but you'd also get all these additional benefits.
yeah.
Like that's genius.
Yeah. So